Ali Abdaal made 4.6 million off YouTube in 2022. But if his channel were a business, would we invest? Let's discuss. If you don't know Ali Abdaal, he's a fantastic YouTuber who focuses a lot on productivity. While his content is on productivity and business and tech reviews, his subscribers can gain a lot of value learning how to get started in YouTube. And I'm an example of this. So Ali, if you're watching this, thank you for all the content that you've created. And this analysis comes from a place of good spirits and admiration. With that in mind, let's go ahead and get started. Ali is super transparent about his revenue streams. So why not take a look at the data, analyze it, and then talk about whether we would invest or what the next steps would be. We'll break this down in the following parts. We just want to get to the meat of things, so I'm going to keep this as concise as possible. If you were doing this for real, of course, you would spend a little bit more time analyzing each one of these line items. But we'll talk first impressions, his different revenue streams, and then thoughts and considerations and potentially next steps that we would need from Ali to make a decision as to whether we would invest. I will say that a lot of times in venture capital, you only get 30 minutes with a company, and Ali has provided a lot of really good information here. So we should be able to get opinion formed from just what he shared and then talk through how we would follow up on that conversation. Here's Ali's profitability over the last 3 years, and I've added some things like subscribers and a few other metrics here to make it more interesting. Naturally, there are a few things that jump out to investors here. The first thing is that his profitability went down. His profitability going down isn't necessarily a deal breaker if you can prove that this extra investment is going to lead to future growth. So when we take a look at revenue, the fact that it's only up a little and the costs are up a lot is slightly alarming. If the costs are up a lot and the thought here is to invest more so that you can make more money in 2023, then this actually might not be a bad thing. So that is one thing we're going to want to keep in mind when we look at these revenue streams. Of course, subs being up is good, but then when we look at the amount of videos that he's created, those actually went down, and they went down fairly significantly. So when we're talking to Ali about this, we'd want to understand, why did your costs go up so much while your videos went down? So in conclusion, from just looking at his profitability over the last 3 years, we need to understand, why isn't revenue going up as much as costs? Why are costs going up so much? And if costs are going up so much, why is this efficiency going down? These are not deal breakers by any means, but we just need to get to the bottom of what all of this implies. Let's start breaking this down a little bit more by analyzing Ali's revenue streams. In his video, Ali talks about his 12 different revenue streams, and he gives us historical data for each. And immediately, a few things jump out to me. The first is that his top 2 revenue streams, cohort classes and Skillshare, make up such a significant portion of his revenue. We're talking in 2021, these 2 revenue streams made up over 70% of his revenue. And that came down to 55%, but still over 50% of his revenue in 2022. I find this particularly interesting because for a YouTuber, he's making the majority of his revenue teaching people how to do YouTube when his channel focuses more on productivity. So this is a bit of a disconnect that we'll want to keep our eye on. However, props to Ali for finding these awesome ways to monetize his audience. One encouraging thing here is that the next 2 revenue streams, Ali's YouTube revenue, which would be YouTube AdSense and YouTube sponsorships, went up year over year from 900,000 to roughly 1.3 million. And this is really nice to see. But when you're evaluating an investment opportunity, we're thinking about future cash flows and future growth projections. And in this case, you look at the top 2 revenue sources, which provide so much of the revenue, and those are declining. And even though 3 and 4 are increasing, the question is whether those will ever offset the losses that you're going to get from lower cohort revenue and lower Skillshare revenue. Let's break down line items 3 and 4 a little bit more. So for YouTube AdSense, when you break it down, Ali talks about how a few of his majorly successful videos make up the majority of this revenue. So it's very top heavy. And for me, this is actually a little concerning. It means that in 2023, Ali's gonna have to focus on finding other videos that do over 10 million views, so that if these videos start to lose steam, the ones that are doing so well for him, he's able to supplement that lost revenue with new videos that do really well. And there's a lot of pressure on finding these viral videos, especially for someone who's already created hundreds and hundreds of videos. You know, how do you come up with something that is going to go viral like you did last year? On the other hand, his YouTube sponsorship revenue looks really good. So his sponsorship revenue increased and the amount of videos that he did decreased, which means whereas last year he might have been making on average $5,000 per video. That shot up to $10,000 per video this year. So if I'm Ali, and you can get that number from 55 videos in 2022 up to 80 videos like you did in 2021, and the sponsorship revenue stays the same, you've made 30 or 40% more revenue just by increasing your video production. So when you're looking at the gross profit table and you're looking at the top 4 revenue streams, which make up the majority of revenue, this paints a little bit of a bleak picture for an investment. You're not seeing much growth. You're seeing costs go up. You're seeing production go down a little bit in terms of fewer videos. There are some bright spots, but there's a lot of negative stuff happening that would make you think that this would be a pass because growth won't continue, or it'll be slightly down, or if it does continue, then maybe it's going to cost a lot of money. However, we know Ali and we know he's resourceful, and as you work your way down these revenue streams, you see some huge opportunities for growth. And so that's really what I would be paying attention to in next steps. We know that the real decision is going to come from whether we think Ali can continue his growth and whether we think the costs are going to have to increase so much in order to sustain that. As we work our way down these revenue streams, things start to jump out that could be huge potential growth opportunities. We're talking things like the podcast, self-hosted courses, merch, the email newsletter. So while these are still in their infancy, this might be the first year that they're generating revenue, the potential for them to generate revenue in 2023 is really big. I've gone ahead and I put together a 2023 forecast. And what you'll see here is that I made the top 2 line items, Skillshare and cohort courses, down quite a bit, while I push these other newer revenue sources up. And if Ali can execute on something like this, his business is much more diversified. It's focus more on him versus something like Skillshare, and all of these show future growth potential. So this is a completely different story for whether you'd invest in 2023 with these types of revenue versus 2022, where you see that his top revenue sources are starting to decline. To wrap things up, there's a lot here that would warrant a follow-up conversation with Ali as to whether I would invest in his business. I'd also like to get a sense from him how much growth potential there is in each of these items, because in my forecast, I just used random numbers that felt right, but he's given a lot more thought into what the potential is of each of these. And then finally, and I think this is one of the most important things for an investment, there are other revenue sources for him out there. He's got a great engaged audience, and he can do things like fan meetups. He can go on tour. He can try other collaborations and whatnot. And I'd also like to get a sense from him because he is very smart. He's thoughtful. He's done all of this planning and whatnot. So I'd like to get a thought for him of what channels are not yet on this that could be impactful to his overall revenue. I hope you found this interesting. Would love to hear your thoughts. And if you like this video and you want to talk more business, please hit that subscribe button. I'll see you in the next one.